Welcome, movie fans. Thanks for joining us for episode 123 of Reading Between the Reels, the premier podcast of Jedi mind tricking students into doing film analysis. If you're a new listener, we're so glad you found us. If you've been enjoying the show, please like, follow, and subscribe, and leave us a 5-star review on iTunes or Spotify. You can also support the show by posting on your socials and joining our Facebook group. I'm Craig Dickinson, and today on the show, it's part 2 of our chaotic, heartfelt descent into the Star Wars galaxy, featuring my English students, questionable Jedi rankings, and 2 legends of the fandom, Tom Gross and Din from F105.
What is your favorite Star Wars movie?
Favorite Star Wars movie. I'm going to count down 3 to 1. Star Wars A New Hope, Empire Strikes Back, and then Rogue One is my favorite Star Wars movie.
Who is your favorite Star Wars character?
I got to go classic character. Let's go with Obi-Wan Kenobi. Obi-Wan Kenobi, he's awesome.
What do you like about the Star Wars movies?
Oh, I think probably the biggest thing. I mean, when I was a little kid, what I loved about Star Wars movies was the science fiction and the laser swords, lightsabers and blasters and spaceships and things like that. But I think today I like the message of hope.
How does the Star Wars sequel trilogies make you feel?
The sequel trilogies, I really, they're not my favorite of the three trilogies. It's probably my third. When I give it that, when I look at them, each individually, I love the movies. Each individually, I do not feel like they connect super well as a trilogy. So, I mean, they're part of the Star Wars story, so of course I enjoy them. But they're probably, in my mind, the weakest of the 3 trilogies.
What is your favorite piece of terrible dialogue in the prequels?
In the prequels, uh, it's going to have something to do with Anakin and Padme. There's some pretty awful dialogue between the two of them, but to come up with something right away, I don't have a line in particular, but it's definitely the lines between those two. They're pretty cringy.
So, in your opinion, how many lightsabers do you think General Grievous has in his collection?
Well, let's see. That's a great question. He does show that off, doesn't he? He pulls the cloak back and says, "Oh, this will make a nice collection to my nice addition to my collection." Let's see. I'm gonna guess he probably has about 10 to 12 lightsabers in that jacket, but we don't know. Good question.
Sure.
Um, in Revenge of the Sith, why does Anakin turn to the dark side, and is he still sympathetic?
Oh, well, Anakin turns to the dark side for probably lots of reasons, but I would say manipulation of the Emperor is probably one. Selfishness, because he felt like the Jedi were snubbing him, and so he was frustrated with them in that term. And is he still sympathetic? Well, Luke still sees good in him at the end of the main trilogy. The main trilogy in Return of the Jedi. So I would say there's still some sympathy in there with him. It just takes a really powerful Luke Skywalker to get him out, to get it out of him.
In Revenge of the Sith, how does Obi-Wan feel about stabbing Anakin? Like when he cuts him in half?
Oh, it's probably one of the most awful things he had to do in his entire life. Anakin is not only his Padawan, but he also, he loves him like a brother. He says that in that moment. He says, "I loved you like a brother." And so it had to have been one of the most awful things that he had to do.
Thank you.
Yep.
Why do you think Darth Vader is obsessed with finding Luke?
Why do I think Darth Vader is obsessed with finding Luke? Um, That's a really, really good question. So it's kind of probably two different things. Number one is that he knows Luke is a powerful Jedi, and if he and the Emperor are going to rule the galaxy, he's got to find the one Jedi that seems to be causing problems for them. Second is he learns that Luke is his son, and so I think there's some curiosity there about who Luke is. Can he get Luke to join him and rule and defeat the Emperor together? I think it's all of that kind of stuff. So, but initially it's because he knows he's a danger.
Why couldn't Darth Vader detect Leia as his daughter using the Force when they first met?
Oh man, that's such a good question. Um, hmm. Well, the Force is not an absolute. So I think you have to have some kind of an inkling that there's something there or an emotional connection. And Yoda says in the Revenge of the Sith, hide them. We will from the Emperor when they separate Luke and Leia. And so I feel like that he wouldn't even have any sort of idea that Leia would be his daughter. That's a really good question, though. I don't have a solid answer, but I think he doesn't have a connection or even a thought that that would be a possibility.
Why might be a bad idea to give Anakin the assignment of protecting Padme?
Hmm. I mean, that's a good question. I think that Obi-Wan saw that they had some sort of a connection, because Obi-Wan had been around them for quite a while from the very beginning, as a matter of fact. And he could probably see that there was attraction between the two of them. And so the bad idea is if there's an attraction, there's going to be connection. And that's the last thing they want from a Jedi who's rising through the ranks to become Jedi Master. So I think that's, that connection that the two of them had or why it was a bad idea.
In Attack of the Clones, who do you think is responsible for the creation of the secret clone army?
Ooh, let's see. Well, it's definitely Emperor Palpatine or Palpatine, whatever. But I think he's the one that did it. But he did it just like he manipulated Anakin. I believe he probably manipulated, and the name of the Jedi that they sent there, that the Kaminoans said was there that ordered the army. I think the Emperor probably manipulated that Jedi as well to secretly create this. I mean, anytime anything's in secrecy or hidden, the Emperor is involved in some way. So I believe ultimately the Emperor ordered that.
Thank you.
So throughout the series, why does Luke's clothes become darker?
Yeah, I think it's symbolic. Definitely. When the first time we meet him, he's wearing the white and kind of tan of Tatooine, showing innocence and whatnot. And then as the series goes, you mentioned it gets darker and darker to all black. Definitely symbolic of his change as he gets older.
Okay, thank you.
Hmm.
Do you think the change in his clothes show growth?
Certainly, growth in the dark side for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What is the significance of a lightsaber? Why not a blaster?
Yeah, I mean, Obi-Wan Kenobi says it all when he's fighting with actually he says it twice. Once when he's fighting Grievous and he uses the blaster to destroy Grievous and he says, "Oh, undignified," or something of the sort. And then later on when he's giving the Luke's father's lightsaber to Luke. He says, this is the Jedi, this is the weapon of a Jedi. It's graceful, it's elegant, it's, all of those things. So, the lightsaber is definitely a symbol of maturity and even history.
Does Lando redeem himself as a friend? Would you trust him? Why or why not?
Oh man, awesome question. Lando Calrissian. He so to answer your questions, if it were me, yeah, 100%, I would trust him. He's been duped by the Emperor, by Vader, and Vader's massively dangerous and massively manipulative through power. So I don't think I would distrust Lando, that much, because he definitely was threatened by, one of the most powerful beings in the galaxy. So definitely I would trust him, even though he's a scoundrel. He had cleaned things up, as he showed with his operations there in Cloud City. So we knew that he had grown from being a smuggler and sort of a rat to doing something, admirable. The ultimate answer to your question, yeah, absolutely, I would definitely trust Lando. He did redeem himself
In Attack of the Clones, why is Padme always in danger?
Yeah, she's a target of the separatists throughout most of the prequel trilogy. And so that's one thing, is she's always, someone's always watching for her to try to, quote, get at her. But second of all, she's always in trouble because she kind of brings that on herself by putting herself into the battle rather than just being a senator in, some office on Coruscant. She goes out into the field, and she, goes to the factory to try to find, this or that. And so she puts herself into danger as well. But obviously, as we've seen through the movies and the cartoons, animation, that she's pretty capable of handling herself. So that's why I think.
Why is Mace Windu's lightsaber purple?
Because he's a stud. Why not? Yeah, Mace Windu is a unique Jedi in that, to our knowledge, he's the only one that has a purple lightsaber. And so it just shows the uniqueness of him. To me, it shows the power in him, because he is probably one of the most powerful fighting with a lightsaber Jedi. And so don't have a super good answer for you, other than he's cool, he's unique. So why wouldn't he have a purple lightsaber?
Yeah, all right. Thank you.
You're welcome.
In the movie Return of the Jedi, how does Luke finally become a Jedi?
So, in order for him to, I believe, when he's talking to Yoda right before Yoda goes to the Force, he says there's one more task that you have to do, and you has to face Vader. And so really Luke has the strength and the knowledge of the Jedi, but he doesn't actually become a Jedi until he defeats Vader. Now, someone might say, well, he never really defeated Vader. He rescues Vader. Same thing in my mind. He saw that there was good in Anakin and Darth Vader, and he, to become the Jedi Master, had to do that. And so it's also symbolic of what the Jedi do. Is the Jedi are not about killing, and the Jedi are about redemption and making things better. And so really Luke is probably more powerful than most Jedi, because of his ability to do that with Vader. So I think that's the moment when he becomes a Jedi.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
What is the most memorable quote from A New Hope, and why?
Well, I don't know that it's the most important one, but when I think back to, I saw A New Hope when I was 8 years old, And this is a quote that's always stuck with me. I probably have more notable quotes from Empire Strikes Back because I was a little older, but the one that really sticks with me from A New Hope is, "Can you get this walking carpet out of my way?" When Leia says that after they get out of the trash compactor, I think it's memorable to me because it was funny. It was an amusing moment, and as I got older, it was important to me because Princess Leia's taken charge. These goofballs, Luke and Han and Chewbacca, they're just blasting their way through the Death Star, and here they needed a woman to kind of get them in order, and so it's an amusing, but it's also a powerful line for Princess Leia. Good question.
Yeah.
Why is the film set a long time ago?
Oh, let's see. Yeah. I'm gonna, there's lots of different theories on this. Why wouldn't it be in the future, right? Because there's spaceships and blasters and things like that. I think saying a long, long time ago in a galaxy far, far away, um, it sets us up to be a mythological story and something of importance, more than just a science fiction. We're flying through space, blasting things, rescuing the day. There's more to it than that. Star Wars is a lot deeper. Otherwise, it wouldn't be around for 50 years. And so, or nearly 50 years. And so I think that's why they give it that long, long time ago in a galaxy far, far away, because it's something that's it's something that is worth telling when it's an ancient story. So that's what I go with when I hear that. That's a good question. Awesome.
What is your favorite spacecraft?
Mm, favorite spacecraft. Depends on the day. But as I'm looking up from the desk I'm sitting at, the ship that's right in front of me and a windowsill, it's the good old Millennium Falcon. It's a classic freighter that has been made into a smuggling ship and is formidable in flight as well as defense. And it's got the greatest captain ever of Han Solo. So Millennium Falcon's what I'm going with on that one.
Thank you.
Why do you think that the clone troops are so able to easily defeat the Jedi?
Assuming you're referring to Order 66. It only works because they're completely taken off guard. And in the Jedi Temple, there's just so many of them. I mean, masses. A Jedi is really powerful, and but when they are A, taken off guard, was not looking at that. B, the clones have been their allies for, since the inception of the clones. So they may have been trying to figure out what was happening. And in that moment of hesitation is when the clones were defeating them. So to me, it's the element of surprise of the Order 66.
You got time for one more?
Absolutely, 100%.
What is your opinion on the Acolyte?
You know what? I love that High Republic era in the novels. I feel like the Acolyte kind of missed the target in production and story. I think they had too much to cover in not enough time. And so I appreciate the effort at it. I do enjoy some of the characters. I do enjoy the introduction to a new time period of Star Wars, but it didn't really hit for me.
What is your favorite random background character in any of the Star Wars movies? So Droopy McCool and the dude with an ice cream machine.
Oh, wow. That's a good question. I've never thought of that at all. Oh, I don't have any off the bat. I'm gonna have to think about it. Can I get back to you on that?
Yeah.
What's your name?
Lincoln.
Lincoln? Okay, it'll probably hit me during this thing. What's yours?
I like Droopy McCool.
Okay, cool. It's gonna be cool.
So if Anakin never turned to the dark side, would Padme live? And if so, how would that affect the story?
Yeah, the biggest philosophical theme of the prequel trilogy is that your focus determines your reality. Einstein said it, Buddha said it, everyone said it. The greatest spiritual leaders to the greatest scientific thinkers that like energy or like frequency attracts like frequency. So Anakin created that his reality. His focus determined his reality. He thought about Padme's death, and therefore he created it and enacted it himself. It's all his doing. Yes. Good question. That's the whole point of the whole thing.
In the Phantom Menace, do you think Ben Quadinaros would have won the pod race against Anakin if his pod racer would have worked?
Oh yeah, there's no contest. I mean, Ben Quadinaros with that aerodynamic diamond head, no one would be able to catch that guy. Yeah. That's a very serious question. Thank you. We're glad that's finally settled.
Do you think the stormtroopers volunteer to do that job, or are they like forced to?
The clones were forced. They were basically slaves, right? Because they didn't have a choice. And the Clone Wars, covers that a lot. And the stormtroopers enlisted, probably the military-industrial complex, Politicians get elected if they promise jobs and they make deals with the military to give people jobs. Hence stormtroopers.
Why do you think that Han doesn't believe in the Force?
Well, he's been all over the galaxy and he ain't never seen anything to make him believe there's one all-powerful energy controlling everything. I think he's a cynic because of his background and the way he's been sort of just thrown around the galaxy without a home and didn't have much to believe in, not a family to believe in. So I'd say that the Rebel Alliance and Luke and Leia finally help him to believe in things.
It's obvious Anakin joined the dark side to save Padme, but why would he continue to be in the dark side after she dies?
I think that he thought he was doing it to save Padme, but he definitely liked the idea of power. So that's the problem at the end of the Revenge of the Sith, that he's asking her to join him to rule the galaxy. So I think at about that point, he chose power over Padme. So as Darth Vader, he continues his search for power.
Thanks.
Why do you think Luke gave into his anger with his last fight with Anakin?
Luke gave in because he fear of loss is the greatest fear, so Vader threatened to kill his sister. So he's just young, it takes a while, I think, to get emotional maturity, so he grew into it.
In the Phantom Menace, why would Anakin's age be a reason to reject him as a potential Jedi?
Well, because the older you are, the more attached you get to people. So in a misguided attempt to avoid attachment, they forbade those attachments, and which you form stronger as you get older. Does that answer your question?
Yeah.
I think the point is that it was a little misguided. I mean, no one can not have attachments, It's about how you learn to live with them. But that's just my opinion.
What do you think about Jar Jar and his personality?
I think Jar Jar is the most bad. I won't continue. He's the most bad A in the universe because I saw Ahmed Best at Celebration Chicago when he did his first public appearance in Star Wars. They actually played Ahmed Best, and he said, I went through such a hard time, he almost took his own life and all that. And he goes, then I realized it was time for white people to stop telling black people how to do their jobs. And then that's when I realized Ahmed and Jar Jar are the coolest thing on the planet.
Yeah.
Or in Star Wars.
Do you think Jar Jar could learn the ways of the Force?
Oh yeah, the Force is in everyone. That's what I love about the modern era of Star Wars. It's really emphasizing the fact that the Force is in all living things, and really, it comes down to do you what it's like what it says in the Bible and every other tradition: seek and you shall find, knock and the door shall be opened unto you. Or as Joseph Campbell would say, who's the basis of all Star Wars according to George Lucas. Follow your bliss, I say, and don't be afraid, because when you do, you will find that unexpected doors will open for you. And that's because the Force is connected to everyone. So I love that, Sabine is connected with it, Han in certain ways. Yeah.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Do you think Jar Jar is a Sith Lord?
Well, I think that he's definitely the most insidious and cunning character in all of Star Wars, so he could be.
Yeah.
Do you think Jar Jar is the most powerful Sith Lord in the universe?
Oh, I mean, it's ridiculous that you have to even ask that question. Yeah, of course.
Why do you think the Phantom Menace is named what it is?
Uh, it sounds cool. It's obviously because Darth Sidious is Palpatine is Darth Sidious, and no one knows, so therefore you can't see it, you can't touch it. So Phantom Menace, yeah. Or obviously that could be a reference to Jar Jar Binks.
In the sequel trilogy, why does Kylo's Ren lightsaber like split into three?
Into three?
Yeah, like it goes out into the hilt.
Oh, yeah, that's cool. A lot of what Star Wars does in terms of visuals is use symbolism to the thing about George Lucas movies is and he did it better than anyone. Some people come sort of close, but not really. You can watch a George Lucas movie in silent, and you will understand what's happening, because he would have went into painting if he didn't become a filmmaker, is what he said, and he thinks visually. So to take that tradition, I think the artist used what's called in art the cruciform. So his cross looks like his lightsaber looks like a cross, and he's sacrificing people on it. So it sort of turns anyone that he's killing into like a Christ-like figure. That's how I think it's working symbolically in movies. Yeah, especially Han.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah. You're welcome.
In the movie Revenge of the Sith, what is ironic about how Anakin treats Padme on Mustafar?
Yeah, well, the irony is that he, like I was saying before, this is again my favorite subject in all of Star Wars. Really, your focus determines your reality. I'll just repeat that Einstein said that, like frequency and like energy attracts like energy, and Buddha said that, and everyone else said that. And the irony is he didn't want Padme to die, and he created the reality where she did, where he did it himself. So yeah, everything was because everything reflects his thoughts. All he had to do was change his thoughts, and his thoughts would all he had to do was change his beliefs, and his beliefs would change his thoughts, and his thoughts would change his reality, his actions. Yeah, welcome. It's ironic, don't you think?
How do you drive the Death Star?
That's a good question. It would probably you'd probably have to have like a really big steering wheel to, like pirate ships have, something that could, because it's so heavy, you need a really big steering wheel to turn that thing. That's what I think. Yeah. Meditate on that. I will. They never show who's flying it.
In The Empire Strikes Back, why does Han go back out for Luke?
Because he loves him. It's his friend. Again, Han was sacrificing himself there. So again, Han in a lot of ways is a very Christ-like figure.
Thank you.
In Star Wars A New Hope, why do you think the story begins with the droids?
Oh, well, George Lucas has made that very clear many times. Big fan of the Japanese filmmaker Akira Kurosawa. And in his movie, The Hidden Fortress, it's led by two goofy characters. The story is told through the eyes of two goofy characters. And so R2-D2 and C-3PO are based on those goofy characters. And we see the story of the saga movies through their eyes.
Thank you.
Who do you think the strongest Jedi is?
The strongest Jedi is the one who can control their emotional reactions in the most mature and balanced way. So maybe Qui-Gon?
In Star Wars Revenge of the Sith, how many younglings do you think Anakin Skywalker killed?
Oh, yeah, that's a really traumatic subject. I don't think I could. I think I have PTSD from that. I don't think I can talk about it. That's a really morbid question. It's disturbing. Disturbing this news is.
Good time for one more?
Yeah.
Awesome.
How do you feel that George Lucas would like constantly like add new lore and stuff for like mistakes that were in movies, like Yadi-Mundi's lightsaber changing colors?
Oh, wow. You all those things and you pick his lightsaber changing colors. That's funny.
That was the first thing I could think of.
I mean, all of a sudden making Leia Luke's sister, that was a last minute decision. I think that's just the creative process. You start out with ideas and new ideas come to you. I think it would be really impossible to think of a story as big as Star Wars. Like, it's basically a global mythology, that he wrote. How it would be hard to predict how everything would go by the end. That's what I think. I think when you're in creative process, you have sometimes even an idea where things will go, but then a better idea will hit you. Maybe sometimes in George's case, he was more interested in the creativity than keeping that stuff perfect in canon. So I think he just didn't care about that stuff as much as maybe some other people do.
So as we close, we just want to say thank you so much for listening. If you'd like to connect with us, you can find us on X, Instagram, and Facebook. Email us at readingbetweenreels@gmail.com or use the SpeakPipe app on our website. If you enjoyed the show, please like, follow, subscribe, and be sure to leave us a 5-star review on iTunes or Spotify. This helps the show tremendously and absolutely helps us reach more people. And one last thing before we hit the hyperdrive, our next episode continues the Star Wars series with Jeff McGee and Tom Gross joining the chaos. Sharp insights, bold opinions, and plenty of heart incoming. You won't want to miss it.